We are the laws of Maisa Carbonis, what's involved in the offerings. We're in chapter 7.
Amen.
Okay. Chapter 7. It is a positive commandment to offer the sin offerings according to its statutes, as they are written in Torah. How are the sin offerings which are eaten brought? One slaughters the animal, sprinkles the blood on the manner described, skins it, separates the amorim, the inner parts, salts them, and casts them on the pyre on the altar. If he desires to place the amorim in a container while they are being carried to the altar, he may. The remainder of the meat is eaten by the male kohanim in the temple courtyard, because this is a holy, these are kochim, these are a holier form of, and therefore they have to be eaten in the temple courtyard. They cannot be eaten, let's say, like in the rest of Jerusalem, which others could. Huh? Because there are certain things that the family could eat from the Kohen, and others his wife or children could eat.
Yeah, but the Kohen is male by definition.
No, it means only. Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. Because as I said, certain things like truma, his family could eat, his servants could eat.
Yeah, but they're Kohen.
One second. It's something that belongs to the Kohen, doesn't mean he only has to eat it, right?
Okay.
You know,
My sister's
like something that belongs to me, my wife can also eat.
Rabbi, my sister,
Right?
My sister's a Kohen. If I'm a Kohen, she's a Kohen, right?
Not if she married someone who's not a Kohen. She loses that status.
But if she's single.
If she's single, then she has that status. Yes.
So
Okay.
his wife and family are really like extensions of him.
Well, not for this though.
Not for this.
Because this is a greater holiness that can only be eaten in the temple courtyard, and they can't even go there anyways. Israelite can't go there. We can't,
Yeah.
in the Kohen's part of it at least, right? Okay, a good chodesh. Okay. Number 2, are the sin offerings which are burnt brought? So, meaning there are some sin offerings that are completely burnt, but they're called a sin offering. Usually they're called an oila. Oila means to go up, ascend, right? And that it's all burned, but it's a sin offering. So one slaughters the animal, sprinkles the blood in the manner described. Afterwards, one rips open its belly, removes the amorim, places it into a container, salts them, casts them on the pyre, and the remainder of the animals should be taken outside of the city and cut up there and burnt. The offering is cut up, and with its hide, the pieces that are burnt in an ash pile.
It's all burnt up, just like some of it's burnt at the altar, and some of it's burnt
outside. Exactly.
Outside the city.
Exactly. So the amurim are those parts that are always put onto the altar. Got it?
Yes.
No.
They're outside.
Outside of the city.
Get it?
Okay. Next, number 3. There are 3 places which sacrifices are burnt. The first is in the midst of the temple courtyard. It was on the east of the ramp ascending to the altar.
East of the ramp?
Yeah, the ramp that goes up to the altar.
Yeah.
In other words, it's not on the altar.
It's in the courtyard.
Yeah, next to the altar, right? Next to the ramp going up. The following are burnt there. And aside from what goes on the altar, right? Right. Aside what's going on the altar, what goes on the altar goes on the altar, right? That's,
Yeah.
But there's three other types of things that are burnt, right? Sacrifice is a higher sort of sanctity that have been disqualified, right? So you can't put it on the altar. So what are you supposed to do with it?
Yeah.
It has holiness to it. So it goes on the side of the altar, on the east of the ramp, which is closer to the front, right? The entrance.
Fire there?
This is the ramp. This is the east.
Is there a fire there to,
I guess somewhere on the, yeah, I don't, it's not showing over here.
yeah, but there's a fire that they do the, beside the round, that they do it, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. A little barbecue.
Remember, it's disqualified because, something, they found a disqualification and let's say it became impure,
Yeah.
right? They found, oh, the Kohen was impure and he made this meat impure.
There's
So
already
now
some-
can't go on the altar itself,
Yeah.
so it needs to go, and this is where it goes, right? The Amorim of the sacrifices of lesser sanctity, which were disqualified,
Yeah.
right? The bulls and the goats that are burnt, if they are disqualified, whether before the blood was sprinkled on or after the blood was sprinkled. Example, they became impure. Oh, you see, he gives him example impure. They were taken outside the temple courtyard before the time they were supposed to be taken out arrived, or their meat or their more remained overnight without being burnt, and therefore they went over the time period, and therefore, right? So you have space, they went outside of the temple courtyard and they were brought. That invalidates them.
Yeah.
Or that they were left beyond the time, so time and space, right? And therefore that made it disqualified. So what are you going to do with it now? So there's a place, three places he said, these things that we just explained, they will be burnt next to on the side of the altar.
That's one place.
Exactly. The second place, number 4, is on Temple Mount. It's called the Bira. They burn the sin offerings that are to be burned if they were disqualified after they departed from the temple courtyard.
Oh, tower.
So these are sin offerings that are being to be burnt that were disqualified, right? After they departed this. Because what happened over here? If the sin offering was disqualified, because sin offering is of the holiest level, right? If it became impure, let's say, in the courtyard,
Yeah.
so then you would burn it in the first place, where we said next to the ramp,
Oh, okay.
right?
Yeah.
But here, this was a sin offering that's meant to be burnt, but it was disqualified when it departed the temple courtyard. So now you're not going to bring it back, right? So now it's got a place on Temple Mount where it is burnt.
Why would you have brought a sin offering into the temple courtyard and then like removed it?
No, because it was to be, because remember, it's a sin offering that there's two types of sin offering,
Yeah.
we said. One that's eaten by Kohanim
Yeah.
and one that's not.
Yeah.
The one that's not eaten by Kohanim, the fact that it's being burned is not on the whatchamacallit. It's not on the
Ramp. The
it's not on the it's not being burnt on the altar.
yeah.
It's being burnt outside.
Yeah.
Only certain things get burnt on the altar, unless it's an oil offering, then the whole thing is burnt, right?
This is an animal that was slaughtered, consecrated to be eaten outside the courtyard, and then you take it out and you're like, wait a second, this can't be eaten.
No, because it's meant to be burnt, that part outside.
Yes.
In the third place that we're going to go to in a moment. But it got disqualified, so it can't go to the place where it's supposed to go,
Okay.
right? It became impure. Whatever, right? The third place is outside Jerusalem.
It's not the animal that became impure, it's the parts after they.
Well, yeah, whatever part that you're taking outside, exactly. Not the entire animal, because already part of it is, it's been slaughtered already.
That's Temple Mount.
That's, yeah, Temple Mount. And now we have the third place outside Jerusalem. This is called the ash pile, where you burn the sin offerings that are burnt when they are burnt according to their commandment, which was we explained before.
Yeah.
Right? That one we explained.
Yeah.
That's the third place. That was the first thing we explained, right? When they're not disqualified.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 5.
Yeah, this one is not, this is a fine offering.
Right,
Third one.
exactly. It is acceptable for the burning of all the sacrifices that must be burned to be performed by non-Kohanim and at night. Interesting, right?
Thought this wasn't allowed.
Why? Because it's outside Jerusalem. Right?
It says all sacrifices.
That must be burned outside of Jerusalem. Yeah, the footnote says outside Jerusalem. Because a non-Kohen can't go to it can't go on top of the
Temple Mount.
no, Temple Mount, yes. Can't go on you can't go on top of the altar.
Uh-huh.
Can't go to the altar. That's only a Kohen can go.
Yeah,
Right. So it's speaking about outside. Okay, any type of wood, even straw or stubble, is acceptable for burning of all of the sacrifices that must be burned outside the temple courtyard. On wood with fire, the type of fire, as it says. Why is wood mentioned? To exclude lime or hot ash. Those things you can't use. Okay. Now we have a sin offering of a fowl. How's that brought? Malika should be performed. Malika is the Kohen had a very long fingernail that was meant, yeah, and that's how we was able to actually slaughter.
oh,
Yeah, it was a very unique thing that's only for sacrifices that you could do.
Yeah.
The Torah says it's like a very,
which we.
and by the way, it was one of the hardest things that a Kohen could do. One of the hardest things because he had to hold it in a certain way in his hands. I forget now exactly how to hold it and to hold it in such a way that he'd be able to like I can't even imagine how they did it. Like how they had the what's the word I'm looking for? Okay, yeah, but there's dexterity. That's the word I was looking for. Dexterity to do that.
Yeah.
Because as it's described, it looks like whoa. And it did say it was like the most difficult thing to do.
And which finger was it?
Huh?
Which finger? Fingers was
The thumb.
the thumb?
It was sharpened. It was like a very, yeah. Okay, so now a sin offering. Why would you bring a sin offering of a fowl? Because you couldn't afford, right, a cow, or you couldn't afford a sheep. So you're bringing a fowl, right?
No.
Yeah. So Malika is performed in the southwest corner of the altar. Where's the southwest corner of the altar? This is west, and this is south. So southwest would be somewhere over here.
You can't see it behind me.
I'm sorry. Okay. This is the west.
Yeah,
Holy of Holies is in the west. The entrance is in the east.
yeah,
Sunrise is in the
west.
East.
East.
That's
That's in the west.
good morning. Or should we say good night?
I think good night.
Right, and this is south, this is north. Right, so it was over here. So he should descend with his nail until he cuts the organ. It requires for ritual slaughter, or at least a majority of one of them. He should not separate the head from the body. If he does, he disqualifies sacrifice and liable for lashes, as it says, and he has a nip off its head from at the nape of the neck, but he should not separate it. He then sprinkles blood on the wall of the altar below the midpoint. The remainder of the blood should be squeezed out on the altar's base. As it says in the remainder of the blood should be squeezed out on the altar's base. One can conclude that from this, that one presents the blood of the wall of the altar, and the fact that the remainder of the blood is squeezed out toward the base indicates that the wall refers to the lower portion of the wall. By the way, we don't learn this over here because we're learning just, the do's and the don'ts, shall we be? But everything over here has a spiritual component to it, a deeper meaning of why it's done exactly the way it's done. So even the Malika, and all of that, all of that is in a very profound manner understood. Not that I understand, but
That's Kabbalah.
yeah. Yeah, Hasidus, Kabbalah, yeah.
Right.
But see, Tanya doesn't speak about it. Not in the specifics, at least. Okay, number 7, yeah. Squeezing out the blood of the fowl brought as a sin offering is an absolute requirement. All the altar receives from this offering is its blood. The remainder is eaten by the males of the priestly family, like the meat of the animal brought as a sin offering. So it's interesting, there's certain innards of the cow or the sheep that you do bring on the altar. Most of it's eaten by the Kohanim, right? But here, everything is eaten by the Kohen, right? Again, how should the fowl be brought to the sin offering be held at time? Oh, we're going to learn. Okay, it's here. I didn't realize it. Okay, you should hold its 2 feet between 2 of his fingers,
This is a crazy maneuver.
and its 2 wings between his other 2 fingers, extending its neck over the thumb, for which the width of the 2 fingers, and then a snip off its head. This is one of the difficult tasks performed in the temple. If one deviated and held the fowl in any other manner, it is acceptable.
You're like
Is there a
holding it-
picture? Is there a picture there? Let
No, there's not.
me see if I can find a picture.
But it
Chapter
says,
seven.
Snip off its head.
Huh?
It says, yeah, snip off its head. But previously it says that you should not,
Not completely. Snip it.
that's,
That's what dangles there.
With his thumb.
flapping and
Let's see if we can find.
Yeah.
It's not exactly. But I was by the Rebbe.
There's a video,
Erev Yom Kippur.
I think it's on your YouTube.
It's the, let's continue. I'll start the second. Thinking about it, that's crazy.
Lamentations was pretty gross.
Tishma.
Lamentations.
Yeah, for Tishma.
The grass.
So no, I don't have it.
Oh,
I've been by the Rebbe. When the Rebbe did kaparas, swinging with a live chicken, and brought it to the Sheikhat, 7:00 in the morning on the eve of Yom Kippur, Rabbi Kolmanson, and the Rabbi Kolmanson, had a knife and slaughtered the chicken from the Rebbe, and you see how the Rebbe it wasn't he didn't take it as nothing. It was he was shaken by it.
It's not been us.
I don't know. I can't tell you from what, because I don't know what was in his head. I can just tell you physically the Rebbe was shaken.
So it's not something that's done like haphazardly. without, like-
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Number 9. Every part of the altar is acceptable for Malika, provided he sprinkles the blood below the midpoint of the altar. In other words, to do the Malika, any part of the altar, he could do it. If he sprinkles it anywhere on the altar, it is acceptable provided he presents at least a small amount of blood of the soul below the midpoint of the altar. Right. So some offerings you have that are sprinkled the blood above the midpoint, some are below. And the Torah tells it very specifically. I mean, sometimes it's specific, sometimes it's learned out and not so obvious. But all of that again has meaning. The opera, one day, I would love to, to learn it with the deeper meaning behind it. but that takes a lot. Well, why are you sprinkling below the line? Why the other offerings are above the line, right? Well, what is that? Why? There's the
Yeah, so all the blood normally for every offering, you're doing it like above. When you're saying the midpoint, I'm kind of confused on
there's a
like,
midpoint on the altar. There's a that goes around, like it's a indentation,
yeah,
right? And that's the midpoint on the altar, and the blood has to be sprinkled, as we just said, here for the sin offering fowl below the line.
so the altar isn't like a flat surface, there's like a,
I'm talking about the side. No. This is not the fire on the altar.
Yeah.
Remember, none of the meat is going onto the altar.
Yeah.
It's all going to be eaten by the Kohanim,
Yeah.
right?
okay.
What goes on the altar stays on the altar, right? Stays on the
So
altar,
where
right?
Where is this? line?
So this is on the side of the altar.
Okay,
Here.
yeah. Oh, I see, okay.
So here you can see there's a midpoint. You can't see it so well over here. There's a midpoint.
Yeah. I can
So,
see it.
and so there's below the line and above the
So
line.
this one you're.
So this one is just have to sprinkle it below the line. Some of them you have to do it on four corners.
Yeah,
So you do two corners and
Yeah.
that one corner that does two at a time, right?
Yeah.
Two corners at a time. And others you have to do two corners just once and then two, which would be four, right? Okay, the upper half of the southwest corner of the altar, the upper half of the southwest corner. So southwest corner is where? This is southwest. This is west, and this is south. So that's southwest corner.
so
That's the northwest corner,
Yeah,
right? That's the southwest
so
corner
this is the
of.
part of the altar that's closer to, if it's slanted down, it's closer to the ground.
No. The ramp
Yeah. the
is
right-
what's taking you up. I'm talking about the ramp
Oh,
now.
like the-
You said the corner of the altar,
Okay,
right?
not. the-
So it would serve for three purposes. And the lower half would serve three purposes. The lower half was used for the malika of the fowl brought as a sin offering. Okay, the lower half. The sin approaching the altar with and also approaching the altar with the meal offering, and the pouring the remainder of the blood of the burnt offering goes in the southwest corner. The sin offerings are eaten, and the guilt offerings and the peace offerings upon its base. On that corner, okay? Three purposes of the upper portion was used for the water libation on Sukkot. So now it's on a higher gradation, that's where they would pour the water. The wine libation, the accompanying offering, the sukkahs, and the burnt offerings, a fowl, if there are many of them. Okay, if the southeast corner does not have the capacity for all of them, the priest would then turn to the southwest corner to perform malika there. Oh my gosh, okay. All of those who ascend the
Sorry, so
altar.
I know we asked the trucker, but the libations, that's just pouring water and wine.
Water is sukkahs, wine is the rest of the year. And also a meal offering that would have flour and oil.
Okay,
That's what the basic
Okay.
libations are, right? All of those who ascend the altar on the right side of the ramp, circle it and descend on the left side. For the one who ascends for one of the three latter purposes mentioned above, which were performed on the upper portion. So you know what? I wish I had I know we have a 3D somewhere.
so it's like going into a parking garage. One
No,
goes
you're
up-
going up the ramp, but when you go up the ramp, there's different places that you can get off the ramp on the side of the altar and go around. And then you can go all the way to the top.
So the altar, this is the outer,
Yeah.
outer
It's on the other altar, yeah.
there were like different like ledges you could go on.
Yeah, you can look, you see over here?
Yeah, I
You
see
see
it.
an arm over here, how it goes, right?
So there's a
You see
ledge-
that's going to a ledge on the side.
Yeah,
We need a more specific diagram.
so this was a really big structure.
This was, the ramp was 32 amas, 48 feet. That's huge.
Sure.
The altar was. Oh my gosh, I forgot now. It's also quite large. I don't remember now. Oh my gosh. We just learned it in like a few weeks ago. I forget already. Huh?
We'll be back next year.
Yeah.
Want me to remind you?
Okay, those ascend the altar on the right side of the ramp. Here's the right side, right? So then you're gonna go this way. That means you're gonna go to the southeast corner first, right?
Yeah.
You descend on the left side, except for those who descend on, except for the one who ascends for the one of the three latter purposes mentioned above, for which he's informed the upper portion of this corner. Those involved in those services ascend on the left side, turn to the left to that corner, perform the task, and then retrace the steps. Why do they turn to the left? So that they will encounter the southwest corner first. Right, because if you're going up over here, this is the southwest corner. And there's a bunch of things to do in the southwest corner that we just said, right?
Yeah,
But when we turn to the right and circle around the entire altar, and they reach the southwest corner, the water and the wine might become smoky.
so you go up the
Perhaps the
right,
fowl would die because of the altar smoke. So, because usually you go to the right.
yeah,
Always right is chesed. We just learned
Yeah.
in Tanya, right? So you're going to the right. But if you did that, the fowl might die. There's a lot of smoke over here, right? Because of the different offerings on the altar already.
yeah,
So he might die from the smoke, and going all the way around, or the wine might get smoky, and then it
Yeah.
becomes invalidated, or the water gets smoky. So therefore, go to the left, even though that's not the natural way to do things. By the way, if you remember, a Kohen who's a lefty can't serve.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know.
You're a lefty?
No, but it's all over the lefty. I was being empathetic.
Why is that?
Because that is called a blemish. Now you know why. Just what was it? 80 years ago, someone was a lefty that would tie their hand on their back to teach them to become righty, right?
Everything.
Huh?
Wanted to be up like that.
Yeah.
Everything my left hand
So-
first.
But by the way, there's a practical thing to that. There would be a mix-up in like taking the blood and taking things how you would have to hand things to people, and you would have to take it with your strong hand, not your weak hand. And if you're a lefty, so it in a practical way kind of like subverts the whole process.
Oh,
Right.
okay. That makes
But-
sense.
Yeah, but if they were left, they had other jobs to do. In others, they couldn't do doing the sacrifice part, but they had other things they could do in the temple. Okay, number 12. Therefore, when someone who performs a water or the wine libation circles the altar, he should not have anything in his hands. He begins circling from the southeast corner, which is to the right, proceeding to the northeast corner, and then northeast and the southwest, right? As we just showed.
yeah.
He should not be holding anything. When he reaches the southwest corner, the water or the wine is placed in his hand, and he performs a libation. If he does not desire to circle the altar, he may ascend the ramp, turn to the left, perform the service, and descend. Why is he given that option? I don't know.
Well, why would he go up there in the first place?
Because he's doing the libation.
Oh, okay. I thought circling the altar was part of doing the libation, but
I'm not clear why he would have that option. When he was holding the fowls who were afraid the fowl might die, right?
He didn't circle.
If he went and circled all the way around, right?
Too risky.
So therefore he went straight to the left. But now he's just saying he's circling in order to come and give the wine and whatchamacallit. So, and that's given to him at that point when he encircles. I don't know. There's no commentary there. All right, folks.